Thank you, Shannon, and thank you, everyone. Elana Wright, chargée du programme de plaidoyer de recherche à développement et paix, Caritas Canada, partagera maintenant son entrevue avec leur partenaire Habib Ayeb. Habib est cofondateur de
Yeah,
l'Observatory
Habib is
souveraineté alimentaire et de l'environnement en Tunisie. Il est
sovereignty
aussi
and the environment in Tunisia. He's also a teacher researcher at the University of Paris 8 in France. His areas of research include food sovereignty, environment, peasant issues, marginality, and poverty. Elana?
Bonjour Habib, merci d'être avec nous.
Good morning, Habib. Thank you for being with us. You're in France, but you're working in Tunisia. And I would like to know better the situation of the peasant women and men in Tunisia, especially in relationship with climate change. How are they living that reality of climate change? Well, first of all, thank you for your invitation. It's a pleasure to share with you. The Tunisian peasant society is experiencing what all peasant societies around the world, because unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, but climate change doesn't know borders. But I could say that the peasant in Tunisia suffer more than others, and there are also some countries who are suffering more than the majority. And Tunisia is one of those countries where the climate change is accelerating with more and more floods, longer and longer droughts. And this is happening in a double context of peasant poverty and food dependency to foreign countries, because Tunisia is importing 50% of its food. So the climate change is worsening the situation of the country and of the peasants. One needs to understand that we live in a country where the vast majority of the peasants cannot live with what they're growing. They're not producing enough food to be able to feed their families. It is a catastrophic situation, and it's even uh, aggravated through the international relationships. And what's the approach of your organization to respond to these urgent needs? The Observatory for Food Sovereignty and the Environment was created in 2017, and its purpose is to develop research, uh, a serious research about the peasant conditions on food dependency, on climate change, and on the ecological issues in general, and then to develop some advocacy for the peasants, but not only for the peasants, but for the consumers, for the landless peasants, and for the whole country. Because if you're importing 50% of what you need to eat, uh, you need to do something. So we are working as we can to make people aware of the climate change, because several people don't want to see or to believe. We don't need to make the peasants aware of the situation. They know, they see it directly. They will tell us it's not been raining for 10 years. They know that it's not possible to to grow a certain product here. You need to go north to be able to grow it from now. So they don't need the memories of your fathers and grandfathers. They know what they're experiencing today. And we need to train the young people, train them for research, make them aware of those issues and of the environmental issues in general. So we have an approach that is both academic, because we're a committed research center, politically committed. We're not neutral. Of course, neutral research doesn't exist, at least in my opinion. And our action is the constant and ongoing support to the peasants, to the producers, to those who are, well, sowing in the morning without knowing whether they'll be able to eat in the evening. The solutions of adaptation to climate change that you are promoting. Well, I would say that we shouldn't think in terms of adaptation. It doesn't have a meaning. No, I have to adapt. I don't have enough money, so I'll reduce my consumption. No, 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 no. We don't need to adapt. We need to fight. I mean, well, of course, it may seem ridiculous that I will change the climate change, but I can pay attention at how I'm living daily, not only about whether I'm polluting or not, because if I'm eating 6 pounds of meat, I'm not polluting on the day that I'm eating it, but it's the whole process of production from raising the cattle uh, that is extravagant and that is aggravating the whole climate change process. So we need to refuse directly the climate change. It's what you can do individually is little, but there are decision makers, there are capitalists, there are people who are making money by accelerating the climate change. So for them, it's convenient to see more climate change. The corporations that are producing the vaccines and any products for COVID-19, well, let's remember that COVID-19 didn't fall from the sky. The virus didn't go down from heaven. It came from the action of men who have cutting the forests to develop cattle production. So it's the world food regime that brought out COVID. And now you have pharmaceuticals who will make lots of money with the vaccine. You'll see that some parts of the planet will probably be able to access those products and maybe for free, but the vast majority of humankind will have to pay for those medicines. It's the poorest who'll be paying for that, not the wealthiest among us. And what role, in your opinion, should Canada and the wealthier countries play in this fight? So you said that we should reduce the meat consumption, for instance, in the wealthier countries, but you find that the uh, wealthy countries should subsidize the adaptation to climate change in the southern hemisphere. Well, I don't know how to answer this question, but I think that if some people think that by giving money, no, giving to our organization, for instance, that you could have a good conscience and you'll be in peace. No. Uh, Personally, I don't need that money. And we should not develop that idea that with some money, giving some money will be enough for that. No, no. I'm much more interested to know that Canada or the other northern countries are working to reduce the food dependency of the southern countries, are working for a better access to the resources, to suppress the chemicals in agriculture, because the southern countries were exporting fruit and lettuce and all kinds of products to the detriment of our own food needs. But let's give a simple example. If the northern countries were demanding zero chemicals in the produce that we purchase, then things would change.
Les Canadiens s'adressent aux Tunisiens en disant nous, on veut bien vous acheter
If
vos fraises.
we're looking at what's happening, and there's zero chemical products, zero tolerance, for example, for chemical products. It's like zero alcohol when you're driving. So maybe zero chemical products in the food would be really good. You'll see that the people producing will be zero because they want to export the products. I don't know how exactly to deal with this, but we have to. But that's something that we can do, that the Canadians can do also. So it's really the transformation of the system that you're asking, and the laws and policies that'll be able to bring about a new culture that change the culture that maintains poverty and injustice. Absolutely, because there is something that is part of the cultural systems. There's always has been climate changes. We're not going to just, if we look at the history of the planet, there are periods of ice, greater forest presence. The problem is the acceleration here. The climate change that is occurring today is going at a speed that we've never seen as humanity before. That's the problem. In 10, 15 years, there are things that we couldn't produce 15 years ago, here, now, and everywhere. There are things we can't produce anymore because of climate change. That's what is catastrophic, because even if it's not that fast, it's still going. There's nobody to be able to stop this because we're going very, very fast. Then we will not be able to change it. You won't, and I won't. So that's that we have to play. That's what we need to deal with. Well, thank you very much with your witness, your perspectives, the subtleties that you are expressing, and your analysis. It's very appreciated. Well, thank you very much.